What is going on, everyone? It's Sean from All Things EV, and I've got a very special, lovely friend, Anise Sharifi from Toronto, Canada. Hello, hello. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, Sean.
Yeah, it's been a little while since we actually just spent the last 30 minutes catching up on the personal side. So it's been a little while since we've had a chance to catch up. You did the Fully Charged Live event in Austin, and you did, we last saw each other before that. I think it was the Tesla owners meetup in LA, right?
That's right, the global summit in LA, which was so fun. And then I last saw you in Austin for the Fully Charged, which was so fun. And I'm actually so glad that I ended up taking the trip and going down to see everybody, because that was the last trip that I did. No one would have expected to be shuttered up in our houses. So I feel the same way. I actually I had a trip planned for March and April, but that of course didn't happen. So, but that's not what we're talking about today. You spent some time with the Porsche Taycan. And so I thought it would be really interesting to have a conversation about your thoughts, your takeaways. You also had some time during this time period where you compared it to a Model S, a new Model S. So I'm really curious to get your impressions of that as well. The thing that is just I'm starting to get a little bit of obsessive over, because I'm seeing reports of news websites and journalists do cover the efficiency side of things. So I'm really curious to get your take on the efficiency too during our conversation. So thanks for taking some time to chat about this. Let's go ahead and jump in here. You had which Taycan? And I'd just love to hear some of your overall takeaways of your time with it. Okay, happy to. I mean, I could talk about the Taycan for days. It was so much fun. I had the car for, I would say, like 3 days, like over 3 days, 3.5 days I had it. And just because I know most of the time this vehicle has been compared to the Tesla Model S, I thought it would be really fun to also get that and then be able to do a really great photo shoot, which we did, which turned out amazing. So then I did my blog post on comparing the two vehicles. Now, my time with the Taycan was great because it was so long. I was able to drive different modes and just do all sorts of different things that, you can't normally, I guess, do on like a one-time test drive. So efficiency, because the Taycan has a lot of bells and whistles, like the features, the buttons, all the things inside the car, and like the battery did drain a little bit faster than I'm normally used to seeing. So I drive a Model 3, as you know, and then also comparing it to the S, when you're in the Taycan, you definitely notice that it just goes down really quickly. So the car drives fast. There's lots of, lights and like screens, and there's lots in the car, and that does drain, I find, the battery a little bit faster. I noticed it just moving really quickly. So it has 323.
Even just with the normal driving, not considering fast accelerations and launches and things like that, you still notice that it was losing its range quickly with the normal drive?
Yeah, even just on like a normal drive. So I mean, I have the kilometers.
Yeah, you just use kilometers, and then maybe what I can do is convert it post-recording for those in America, basically in the UK.
So the range, I had 323 kilometers, and that was that's like a good number. I would say went on like a full range, like 100%. And yeah, as soon as you start driving and you're using, the heat, the heated seats, anything in the car, like you'll just notice like the mileage starting to go down. But like I mentioned that in my blog, like if you're a Porsche Taycan owner, like for sure you have
a charger at home. Like I would have just assumed that. And it's the same thing with Model S. Like I would assume that you have a charger at home. So I don't think that's like an issue that the range, you know, maybe is drains, because you still have plenty to use in a day. If you are using the vehicle morning to night, even if you were to use all the features, the heat, if you were to use like the heated seats, if you were to use, I don't know, anything in the vehicle, even if the range is going to be going down faster than, let's say, in a Model 3 or a Model S even, you would still have plenty to do lots of driving and all that, lots of mileage on it, and it would still give you enough. I mean, that's just like my perspective of it.
Yeah, you're talking more about daily driving. Most people don't go long distances every single day. So if they're charging at home overnight with the car and then going to work or going to the grocery store, there's not going to be any issues with range anxiety. Did you get a chance to take this on any extended trips and use the Electrify Canada network?
So I didn't take it on a long like trip or anything like that, but I did drive with it quite a bit on the highway, and I used the Flow charger that happened to be like on one of my routes one day, and it wasn't as intuitive as I would have hoped it would have been. You know, you have to download the app and you have to upload money, and then I don't know, it's just not as fast as I would have liked it to be. Like, let's just say with like a supercharger where it's just so easy, you just plug it in and that's it. Using Flow was a little bit more challenging, but you know, I had to call customer service and they were fine, like helping me kind of move along. But I should say I used Flow because of the DC charging that I wanted to use. So I had the Taycan Turbo, and so it had the option, like it has the DC charger already installed on the vehicle, which is an option. It doesn't come standard like that. It's an option, but yes, it had the DC charger port already, like it's on the car. So I used that. I wanted to use the fast charger. And it was good. Like, I mean, it did eventually charge quite fast once I got to it. But that was my experience with the charging. Okay, so while we're talking about driving, I wanted to talk about the driving modes. So this was the most fun part of the car, was being able to experience the different driving modes. So the car comes with 4 different driving modes. So there's range, there's normal, there's sport, and sport plus. Okay, so and then the Model S has 3, or I guess you could say 4, which is chill, sport, ludicrous, and ludicrous plus, right?
Yes, that's correct. Sorry, I didn't know you were looking for affirmation there. Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna try the different driving modes, and it was incredible, Sean. This is where the Taycan just stands out completely from the Model S. Like, yes, I realize the Model S has ludicrous and ludicrous plus, but really, like, you're not using that for anything other than just like showing off the car or doing some YouTube videos and maybe racing with the Lambo, okay? But the Taycan, the sport mode was so dynamic, and you could really use this not only like on the highway, but you could then take it on a track and just rip it. So first of all, when you do put it into sport or sport plus, there is a sound. So that there was an engine sound. And I know some people have opinions about this, and I used to be one of those people too that would be like, oh no, like, why would you add a sound to an electric vehicle? It's super cheesy. Like, that's not necessary. We're trying to move away from that. I get it. But in this car, it made sense to me, because Porsche here is trying to give you a sport experience, and that's what these modes do. They put the car into sport, so you get that growling, like really awesome like energy, and then the speed, I mean, it's nuts. And the car, the feel of the car changes so much from, normal to sport, and then sport plus. It's just so dynamic, the different drives, and you get like a completely different experience from driving normal and then to driving sport or sport plus. So you can have the car for an everyday drive, everyday commute, and then also take it on a track and then rip it and have a completely different experience with the car. So I really, really enjoyed that on the Taycan. I totally appreciated that. And I think Porsche did a really good job of that.
Now, one thing to note here, which I think is exceptional, especially if you like to push the Taycan, is those settings are available immediately, including the Sport Plus, right? There's no heating up of the battery like you have to do in the Performance Model S.
Yeah, no, there's no heating up. There's no like get ready for this. No. It just goes. Like you literally just change it. You can there's a few different areas that you can select the modes, like on the steering wheel, on the screen. Like there's different areas that you can select it, but that's it. Like it just changes very quickly, and then it's just like you're gone. Like the speed was incredible. I could have done that all day long. I enjoyed it so much.
I love it. I love it. It's I think that the Model S takes somewhere around 45 minutes to heat up the battery. 30-45 minutes, and so maybe not everyone's going to use the Ludicrous Plus, but if you're hanging out with a buddy who's got a Taycan and you've got the Performance Model S, and your buddy's got to wait 45 minutes, for you two to go head to head, it's going to get a little bit annoying, and it's going to be a little bit of a killjoy. But maybe not everyone uses the performance. But I do think that, to me, that's something that stands out. If you're buying a performance electric vehicle, the performance features should be available immediately.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, this is, I think, where Porsche is trying to be different, right? So, we have some electric vehicle models on the road right now, and Tesla's giving us a lot of, options, size, luxurious and more simple. You have those differences, but then here comes Porsche and says, okay, so we're going to give you luxury, but we're also going to give you a sport car experience. And that's where I think they're being a little bit different too. Not only is the design a bit more sporty, but it's performance as well.
So I'd love to hear your takeaway on quality of the vehicle. Build quality, yes. You expect a premium build quality, but how did it feel driving it around, touching things inside of the car, looking at the exterior design? What was the visual takeaways as well as the impressions of its just quality?
Okay. Yeah, this is again where an area where Porsche is definitely stands out and is being a little bit more different than what Tesla's doing. So I wrote this on my blog, and I'm just going to read this because I think it was pretty good. I'm just going to say it. So the Model S design is simple and sophisticated with a dash of opulence, while the Taycan is elegant and luxurious with a dash of minimalism. So that's where they're different, where Tesla will always give you the same message where less is more, and they're trying to be simple, while Porsche will always give you the more luxurious, more sophisticated kind of feel. Now, Porsche's obviously been doing this for a lot longer, and I really think that they have perfected quality inside, outside. Like they know what they're doing, and you can definitely feel that. Like you get in the car, you're in a Porsche. There's no doubt about it. It just feels so luxurious. Is the only thing that really comes to my mind. Like it's a lot. There's like lots of intricate designs, but it's not overwhelming. So the interior is beautiful. There's 4 screens, if you count like the 2 parts on the center console. Now the Porsche, the turbo that I had didn't have the added screen on the passenger side, wasn't active. So I believe that's a Porsche S feature only. So the screens were fine with me, like they were just enough to be able to communicate with the vehicle, and it was easy to kind of navigate. That was great. As far as the exterior, I'm just kind of going to jump between what's like coming into my head, sorry. But the exterior, I thought like the Taycan just stands out again because it's very different than what your typical sedan looks like. So it's got a bit more, it looks like it's lower, even though I realized later that it's not, but it looks like the vehicle is lower and wider. And so you have a bit more of like a badass kind of like sporty feel again. But there's no doubt that the Taycan turns heads on the road. Like it just looks so fierce the way it's designed. It just turns heads. The Tesla Model S is more of like a timeless design, so it's going to be a staple with Tesla's like look, and it's a sedan that you can probably just drive for longer with it always being like current, while the Taycan is very just like aggressive and like I'm here right now. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like that's just the way I saw it.
What strikes me about the design, we were at the launch event in September in Niagara Falls together, and so we got to see it for the first time, and it is a beautiful design. And I think to add to your point, it's just got a very low stance. It looks like it's about to pounce on something, and I think that they've done an exceptional job at that. In my opinion, it's the best looking Porsche that they make. In terms of proportions, in terms of, its styling, its aggressive styling. It looks like not just a Porsche, but it looks like an aggressive, sporty car. It's something that you can get into and know that you're going to be one of the best, if not the best looking car on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. I should say though that the model that we saw in Niagara Falls was like the premium of the premium. Like it had everything that you can possibly imagine on it. It was the Turbo S, and those wheels and all that stuff is extra. Like extra, like cha-ching extra. Okay, so if you do want that look and those things are like of utmost importance, and yes, you have the option to upgrade to all those things, whereas I think the Tesla is a bit more modest with its features, and it doesn't have as many upgrade even options even if you wanted to. Also, some of the cool features, like futuristic features on the Taycan, again, are only available on like the Turbo S. For example, like the sliding charge port door, which I think is really cool. Like that's one of the futuristic features. It's only available on the Turbo S.
So what does it do otherwise? Is it just sort of extend out similar to your 3?
It's just like a push, like a pops open.
Yeah.
So it opens outwards instead of into the car.
That's right. Because like that slide that you could do on the Turbo S, you slide this like one little sliver edge that they've got on the port. You just slide your finger underneath it, and then the door just kind of goes in, right? It just kind of slides inside. It's really like, ooh, cool. But yeah, no, I didn't have. I had the turbo, and that wasn't an option on there.
Okay, I see. What about the accelerometer, the speedometer? I've seen in almost every video, it's the software that's displaying the speed as you're accelerating quickly is a little bit laggy and jumpy. It's not as smooth as what Tesla does with their software when they represent the speed, the accelerating speed. Did you find that was a nuisance to you, or did you even pick up on that?
I didn't notice it. No, I thought the communication with the car was easy, and it was simple, and no, I had no issues like reading speedometer or anything on the screens or the infotainment or anything like that. It was simple, and yeah, I mean, it doesn't have the technology. That's one of the things that I talked about on my blog. It doesn't have the technology that the Tesla Model S has. I can say that for sure. That's one area where Porsche is still behind. Is the technology. Like, you know, the infotainment is nowhere near what Tesla offers, or, you know, I don't know, any of like Sentry Mode or Tesla Cam or Autopilot. Like, I mean, it's behind on the technology side.
Did you test out? Did this vehicle have any active safety driving features like lane keep and you know, automatic emergency braking or anything like that?
I tested those things like very minimum. I hate having those features on. But yes, no, I did test out, like, it has like lane assist and like, you know, cruise control obviously and all those things, but it doesn't have like any of the automated driving features. It's just like the really basic stuff.
I think that's an interesting perspective that you have, because you have a 3 which has autopilot, correct?
Nope, I don't have autopilot. It's not one of the features that I wanted to pay extra for. It's not something that I really even, I don't know how to say this. Like, I've talked about this before. It's not for me yet. Maybe it's because I haven't used it enough, so I don't get it. I don't know.
You like to drive the car and be in control of the car.
I like to be in control when I can be.
Right. Yeah, I understand. I mean, you know, I'm like OG Tesla owner, so I don't have any autopilot. No parking sensors, no TAC or cruise. I have standard cruise control, but I drive the car. When I get into the car, I drive it, and it's all me driving. And I mean, so far, with the exception of 2020, it's proven to be pretty effective.
But I know that's not the future. Like, I know the future is going to be automated driving, and I get it. Like, I will adapt to it when I really have to. Oops, sorry. I will get there when I have to. But I enjoy driving my car. I mean, I like driving stick when I could, and now this is even like less driving. So from whatever I can get, I will take the driving.
Road noise, driving on the road at high speeds, any takeaways there or thoughts on that when you compare the two?
No, nothing that was like notable that I would say like, oh, this like really bothered me or not. But if we're going to talk about noise, I am going to mention again that I was surprised how much I actually enjoyed. Hey, this is going to come back and bite me, but how much I actually enjoyed the engine sound when I put it into sport mode.
Is it an engine sound, or is it more like a spaceship whir sound?
No, it's an engine sound. Like, so if you actually go on the Porsche website, on one of the pages, they have the option where you can listen to it. Like, they have the audio uploaded on their site, and it's cool. I used to be those people, again, that would say like, oh my God, that's so cheesy. Like, why do people do that? Like, why do EVs need that? Like, you don't need that. Because I've tested it before on the I-Pace. The Jaguar I-Pace has a little bit of that. And I wasn't crazy about it. But in this car specifically, it made sense. Why? Again, because they're trying to give you the sport experience. And so part of that experience is the sound. And I don't know. I really enjoyed it.
I think, yeah, I mean, in my opinion, people are going to love it or hate it. It's, you know, if you don't like it, you don't have to use the setting, right? Can't you turn it off?
I'm sure you can. But I would be shocked if anyone wanted to put it into sport mode and was like, no, I'm going to turn that off. Like, I would be shocked.
I had about 4 or 5 days with the e-tron, and it did have an artificial sound when you accelerated it. So I think I can probably understand why some people might not be crazy about it. This is one thing that I'd love your impression of, the regenerative braking. So it's a little bit different of a setup in the Tesla, in that with the Taycan, the regenerative braking takes place when you actually use the brake pedal. So how did that, what was your impression of that? Did you like that? Was it annoying to have to go back and forth between the accelerator and the brake pedal?
No, I mean, I think it just comes naturally because that's just how we operate cars. So it wasn't annoying in any way, but it wasn't as effective. Like I noticed that it wasn't adding on to like my range or anything. I did notice that it wasn't as strong and as giving as the Tesla regenerative braking, if that makes any sense.
It does. I find, so I mentioned that I spent quite a bit of time with the e-tron. I found it to be a little bit of a nuisance to have to go back and forth. You know, driving the Tesla, you do have a little bit more singularity with speeding up and slowing down. You're not taking your foot off of the accelerator or moving it over to the brake as often in the Tesla. There's a little bit more singularity with being able to sort of accelerate as well as decelerate with the one pedal. I know Nissan uses this as a selling point, the one pedal driving, but the Taycan, I would assume, would be similar to the e-tron because they're made by the same company. I think we'll go ahead and wrap up, but I'd love to just sort of summarize things. Who, in your opinion, is the Taycan for when you look at the scope, the landscape of electric vehicles? Who is this going to be a good fit for?
Okay, great question. So the Porsche is for the gearheads that actually want to go electric. And the ones obviously that can afford it. But it's for those people who were like, oh, I love car, I love stick, I love, like it's for the gearheads but who are now being a bit more conscious and want to go electric. It's also for the Porsche fans. Like it's a Porsche through and through, and it's going to speak very well to their current clientele, and they're going to I think get a nice conversion from like buying like a Panamera or something like that into the Taycan, because it's going to make sense eventually. And from what I understand, Porsche is going to be also converting other models fully EV. So the Macan, I think, is next on their list, and so is the Panamera.
I think that's correct. I believe that's what the CEO said when I spoke with him at the launch event. That sounds familiar.
I think that Porsche is actually like serious about going EV. I do. They're doing all the right things to show that they're serious about this and that they're going to continue pushing EVs in their lineup. And I like that. Like even their charging system, like they are actively, increasing their network, whether it's working with other companies like Electrify America, and then they're also installing chargers in all of their dealerships and providing free charging through that. So if you are by a dealership, and you can stop by and charge for free, and like they're really trying to give value in charging as well to their EV owners.
I want to ask you one last question here, which is, what did you dislike about the vehicle? Was there anything, or are there a few things that come to mind that you weren't terribly crazy about?
That little clock maybe at the front. I don't know what that's for. Like there was like so many different clocks, and like in the vehicle, like there's like I think 2, 3. Like it's just not necessary. I don't know why you need that as well on like.
I think that's a Porsche. Like that's something that's a signature Porsche thing. I believe that's been in the cars for as long as they've been making them. But to the younger person who's new to the Porsche brand, it seems like a little bit redundant, right?
Yeah, it wasn't necessary at all there.
How'd you feel about the cabin room, the cabin space? We got to test this out, or sit in the seats at the launch event last year. Did you have any further impressions about cabin room, headroom, shoulder room, knee room?
No, I mean, just because I'm like small, so it all seems like nice and airy to me, but I can see how somebody that's a little bit taller, longer legs might feel a little tight in there. But I always find that it was comfortable, it was not, it was wide enough and open enough for me to be able to still enjoy the car. Also, I should say that because I'm so small, I always find like I'm like kind of lost in the car. I always feel like I'm always like a little, like I need like a booster or something. I didn't feel that at all actually in this car. The seating would come high enough for me to enjoy the view. And also like considering how like big the car is, like the car never felt like heavy or anything like that, which is I always find like is a bit of a thing, not necessarily with just EVs, but just like in general, the car feels so extremely light and so easy to just kind of manage and maneuver, and it's just such a nice drive. It's just such a nice drive.
I think based on my experience of sitting in the rear seats, first of all, there was not a lot of knee room and leg room. Yeah. So if you have adults in that back seat, it's going to be tight. And then the other potentially problematic piece, which I have not tested out, so full disclosure there, but based on how much room I had in there when I did sit back there, putting car seats in that second row will be next to impossible, especially if you want your kids to have some leg room. So that's just like something top of mind to me that, I mean, if you have the Taycan, maybe you have a second or third or fourth car and you do have an option to select the larger vehicle, and this is like your commuter, your work commuter, your weekend vehicle. But that's another thing I think that people should consider testing out before they buy this. If you've got children, you're going to be using this to transport children around, definitely test that out.
Yeah, or just don't do that with this car. Sorry, I know that's like totally like not the right thing to say, but it's not for people who like want to commute with children in this car. Like the cargo space is tight, like the trunk isn't as big, and yeah, the back seat would not be comfortable to put car seats in there.
On the other hand, though, I would say the Model S is fully sufficient in terms of leg room. It's a little bit of a problem getting the buckle around the car seat to the inside of the car. Much easier in the Model X to get car seats in and out. But in terms of leg room, I would say that for kids, the Model S has one up on the Taycan in that way. Well, my overall takeaway from your feedback today, which I really appreciate, it seems like Taycan knocks that out of the park with performance. The
quality.
Quality, materials, build quality, craftsmanship, that really shines through. I can say from my experience with it at the event, but it sounds like you agree as well, where Tesla might take a little bit more of a minimalist approach. The Porsche Taycan is more opulence and grandeur, right?
That's right. Yeah. And that's where they're going to be different. And that's okay, because we need a little bit of competition in this area. Like these vehicles fall into the, luxury EV category, and we don't have enough there. So that's great. I think competition is healthy between these two models, and we should have more of these vehicles so that everybody has an option. If you are looking to get into an EV, regardless of where you're at, like you have more options now. So yes, the Tesla Model S is great and offers so much value, but now here comes the Taycan Turbo and Turbo S with like a lot of different things, and that might appeal to a whole new demographic, and that's good, because the whole idea at the end of it is that we want more EVs on the road.
Right, that's correct. And to circle back around to a conversation we had before we hit record, it reminds me a lot of love and relationships. Each person needs something different. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and some person may find more value in the Taycan over the Model S, And it just depends on what you need at that time, at that very moment.
Very good, Sean. That was a good circle back.
Well, I mean, it would have been nice to sort of record the conversation that we had before we hit record about that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's true. That's the sort of comparison that I make in my mind. And just because the Model S has more range doesn't necessarily mean that it's better. It just depends on what you need, and maybe the higher value for you is the performance aspect of it. And it sounds like at this very moment, as we're recording this on May 1st of 2020, that the Taycan has some significant advantages.
Exactly. It depends what you want and what you're looking for.
Yes. Well, this has been a really great conversation. I appreciate the insight. You got 3 days with the Taycan, and so I was really interested in getting your perspective. And you say thanks for jumping on. I want to give you a chance to let people know where your blog, where they can find your blog, because you've mentioned that a few times, and then any other social media platforms that you're interested in shouting out. Like, I know you're active on your Instagram, but you also have got Twitter as well.
Yeah, so my blog is iamanise.com, and so I do like to talk about EVs, but also living a conscious and aware lifestyle, talking about being eating healthy and all those things. And then on my Instagram, I'm very active on there too, just sharing lots of fun EV things. So that's Anise Sharifi, and Twitter, Anise Sharifi. That's it.
Great. Well, thanks again, Anise. Good to catch up, and hope to keep in touch here in the near future.
Cool. Thanks, John. This was fun.
All right. Talk to you soon.